caller referenced Common Core, and I have a short clip here about Common Core. Some family in New York State is so disgusted with it that the father has created an app. I want to share that with you in a minute if I could, because there's also a secondary part to that too. He's raising a daughter who's going to go off and be one of these snowflakes at college, unfortunately. But I would tell you the reporter's name. She's with a Fox affiliate somewhere in New York State. But the printer gobbled up the paper as I was trying to print out but I saved the soundbite, so I can share that with you in just a moment. 9:34, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 51. Got to tell you about our friends in fact, we've been telling you for a long time about our friends at Tint Lady. Tint Lady, of course, will come out and do a free estimate, putting up tints in your windows at your home or your office or even in your automobile, and they do paint protection as well. I was driving along the Canyon Rim the other day, and some of these homes that are nearly all glass, or at least glass on one side, they are likely in need of window tints because what will happen when the sun starts beating against some of these windows, well, they'll get a lot of heat convection, especially on those really hot days this summer. Window tint can reduce that by 73%. So you've got to give them a telephone call to set up that free estimate, 736-8469, or go online at tintladyidaho.com. Now, these people have been in business now over 20 years. Don't squint, get tint, they like to say. Keep in mind, they're open, they just opened up at 9 o'clock this morning. They'll be open until 5 p.m. this afternoon, Monday through Friday, Saturday by appointment only. And the new office is easy to find. It's at 127 Filer Avenue. So this is a clip from Fox News, the Fox News feed this morning about Common Core out of New York State, and families so disgusted with it that they decided to create an app so they can better contact politicians with all of the ridiculous things they're seeing in their daughter's homework.
Common Core is very confusing, and when I went home, I got really upset, and that made my parents upset.
9-year-old Lily's school troubles prompted her dad to create an app called Failed Common Core.
We are destroying kids' self-esteem by giving them problems that are impossible to answer.
Users of the Failed Common Core app can post pictures of confusing test questions or homework. The pictures are sent directly to lawmakers as part of a protest petition against Common Core. The New York State Education Commissioner is vowing kids will have more time to finish the tests. Improvements that will not likely do much to change the minds of Lily and her father.
I even mentioned to my parents that my confidence is dropping to a serious level because I can't solve these questions.
All right. Well, up until that point, it was fine. Now, of course, her self-esteem has been harmed. Now, that actually might be the argument that works with the liberals who support Common Core. Think about that for a moment. We can't have someone's self-esteem harmed by this program, so we'll likely have to drop it. If it hurts her feelings, she's going to go off to college and she's going to be offended by just about everything that happens on campus, just like all the college students are today. So we've got to drop Common Core for that reason. What we don't hear a lot about, and I mentioned this on the air a couple of weeks ago, Common Core was essentially is a federal program eliminated in December. And I know that people say that a lot of Republicans serving in Congress have been drinking the Kool-Aid, but on this count, Congress got behind the effort to get away from it. Now it's just a state issue. So we will not have a cookie-cutter system that is going to be used all over the country. A lot of you probably are thinking that's a really good thing, and I'm not going to argue about that either. I have to think that I was listening to some video yesterday that was sent to me by a listener, and in this video, it's parents who are actually showing off the problems or trying to solve them, and as they read the problems to you, you're thinking, what in blazes is this? It's like, well, if you connect the azimuth to the vermuth to the lindenmuth, then you'll get pi squared equals, huh? And so, it's going to go the way of the dodo bird. And I saw another column yesterday, a writer commenting on this. I found the link at realclearpolitics.com. May have been from the Washington Post, but I'd have to go digging through my files on the desk material that I didn't use yesterday. But I did actually read this, and the writer says Common Core is dead. And the public opposition has been. My sister, who's a public educator, teaches in a public school. When this thing first came along, she heard me talking about it on the radio one day, and she sent me a text message saying, I don't know what your problem with Common Core is. It's going to help standardize things around the country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was brand new. Then they introduced Common Core into her school system. Within 3 months, my sister was singing a completely different tune. Not only that, all of her fellow teachers were singing a different tune, and the teachers' unions were singing a different tune. How often have conservative Americans actually sided with the National Education Association? Never. Not until this issue came along, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, we can make common cause against Common Core. So it's a dead issue. Oh, it'll linger around in some states for a long time, and especially probably on the coasts. And then they'll wonder why they have to keep providing welfare programs for the dumb dummies they're raising, and wonder why in the middle of the country people are still getting by and finding ways to make a living and coming out of school knowing a little bit more than everyone else. That's because we're not busy getting in touch with our feelings, I suppose. Got about 20 minutes left in the program. Bill Colley with you on Top Story this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Speaking of the coasts, minimum wage is now in effect in 2 different states. And in both states, the people who actually push these changes, this is really getting good. In both of these states, the politicians, the liberals behind them, are actually offering apologies because I think they know it's not going to work. But by golly, they're going to try to hammer that square peg into that round hole. Details coming up.